Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kelsey. I'm the creator of Bite Size Ancient History, and I studied ancient Greece, Rome, and Egypt at university, so I'm here to discuss all things interesting in the ancient world. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and to subscribe down below. But today, I'm very excited because we're going to be talking about the first episode of Netflix's new series, Kaos. I'm just going to put a full disclaimer out now that I'm not here to say whether it is a good or bad TV show. I'm here to basically use it as a learning tool so that we can discover more about Greek mythology and say if I think they've researched well maybe and I understand their changes or not. But as a heads up, I don't think you're going to have to worry about it with this episode. I loved this show. I'm just going to say I think it might be one of my favourite Greek mythology reimaginings ever. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, I'm going to give you a warning. There's going to be spoilers in this review because I'm going to be talking about in detail the Greek mythology behind the first episode. But if you just want to watch it anyway, here is a very quick speed summary of everything that happens. So, our narrator is Prometheus. We'll go into detail about who he is. And he's telling us about this idea that there is a prophecy that basically Zeus, the king, will have his downfall. And there are three people that are going to be key in this. And we meet the first person, who is Eurydice. We also meet Zeus's wife, Hera, and one of his sons, Dionysus. Dionysus is unhappy that he is basically just messing around, getting drunk all the time, and wants to be more involved and help out with the humans. He likes interacting with them. There is a big festival happening at the moment, and Zeus is awaiting a monument to be dedicated to him and sacrifices to basically revivify him. However, we start to see that the mortals are not happy with the gods because one of these statues is defiled. Basically, poop is spread all over it, and Zeus is not very happy. Dionysus also gives him the gift of a watch as a happy birthday. Eurydice is married to Orpheus, but we learn that she's not very happy in this marriage and would like to leave him. She encounters a woman in the supermarket who tells her that today is the day that she is going to leave him. However, there's a little twist to this because it's not just that she's leaving him, she's leaving everyone. She gets hit by a car that day. She is dead. She is gone. Obviously, Orpheus, grief-stricken, doesn't know what to do. Grief-stricken doesn't know what to do. And Dionysus decides that he's going to help him get Eurydice back. I'm pretty sure that covers all of the major points. So let's get into my debrief on the real Greek mythology. Real Greek mythology? Can I say that when it's mythology? You know what I mean. The Greek mythology that has inspired this and what is accurate and what is not. So we first meet Prometheus as our narrator for the entire series. Who is Prometheus? Is he even real in Greek mythology? Yes. He was actually a titan in Greek mythology, and as it kind of picks up in the show, he defied Zeus. In some Greek myths, he actually created humankind by kind of shaping us out of clay. But then in all of them, there is this idea that he gave fire to humanity in order to help us progress so we could cook and make things. And this was against Zeus's will because Zeus wanted to keep the humans weak and reliant on the gods. So when he does this, Zeus inevitably finds out and punishes him. And you do see this in the show, and it's upsettingly accurate because he is stuck on a cliff with birds continually picking at his liver for all eternity. And he's a god. He's a titan, he's not going to die. This is forever. With this knowledge as well, and the fact that he's narrating it and suggesting from the trailer and stuff that we've seen before, which if you haven't looked at that video yet, don't forget to go check that out as well. It makes sense that he's narrating this plot where the humans are going to defy the gods because he's somebody who's kind of helped them in that journey. So very accurate. We then, of course, meet Zeus, aka Jeff Goldblum, and we kind of went into him when I did my trailer breakdown, so go watch that for more details. But yes, he did live on Olympus with the other gods, and he was king of the gods. But let's get into this idea of the prophecy that comes up. Was there a prophecy? Yes and no. There was a prophecy relating to the downfall of Zeus, but it's not quite like the one that we find in the series, which is okay. The prophecy that actually takes place in Greek mythology is one relating to Metis, which was Zeus's first wife, and it was foretold that she would bear 2 children. The first, which would inevitably be Athena, so the first female born, and then another, which would be a son who would grow big and strong and overthrow him, very similar as to what Zeus did to his own father, Kronos. So inevitably, panicking about this prophecy and fearing the same fate as his father, he has to find a way around this. So he tricks Metis into turning into a fly and then swallows her whole. But it is too late for Athena. She's already being, I don't know, she's pregnant with Athena. So when he swallows her as a fly, Athena pops out of Zeus's head. Very weird. Okay, so slightly different to the prophecy that we find in the first episode, but that's okay. The prophecy in the episode speaks of 3 individuals that are going to be playing an important role in overthrowing Zeus. And we meet the first one, who is Eurydice, or they call her Riddy in the show. Very cute. And she was a very important figure in Greek mythology. Not quite in this way, but still a real person with real inspiration. Who is Eurydice? Eurydice was actually a nymph in Greek mythology. So these are like deities or spirits associated with nature in the ancient Greek world. And in that, like kind of in the show, she is married to an individual called Orpheus, who is known for his amazing musical abilities. And on their wedding day, having a great time, very happy. Unfortunately, this very, very creepy man named Aristeus is making his move on Eurydice. And while she's trying to escape him, she unfortunately gets bitten by a poisonous snake and dies. Grief-stricken, Orpheus tries to pursue her all the way to the underworld, to Hades, and he meets Hades and Persephone and tries to barter with them. And they are so impressed with his musical ability that they're like, okay, you can take her back up. One condition: while you're leading her out of the underworld, you cannot turn around and look at her. And they're making their journey, and they nearly get there, but unfortunately he is so overwhelmed by the doubt of like, is she still behind me? Is she okay? I don't know. He looks behind and fails. So she is stuck in the underworld. So maybe this will play a part in the series later, so could be exciting. I don't know, it's hard to tell because not related to Zeus's downfall in any way, so who knows. What is interesting is that we see the 2 of them are living in Crete. And as I mentioned in my previous video, I think this is kind of, maybe I just thought about it in my head and I didn't mention it. Apologies. This is actually where Zeus was born in Greek mythology. So it's interesting that they're choosing the people that are going to bring about the downfall to be from where he was born. It's kind of poetic, kind of like that. They also mentioned that their current president is somebody called Minos, King Minos, who is somebody from Greek mythology. He was actually the King Minos of Crete, famously the Minoans. So he's a bit of a sketchy character in Greek mythology. He basically asks for this beautiful bull, like a most prestigious bull, to sacrifice to Poseidon to show his dedication to the god. But however, when he sees how amazing it is, he tries to trick the god. And as you've guessed, if you know anything about Greek mythology, that never really goes very well. So Poseidon punishes him by forcing Minos' wife Pasiphae to kind of have relations with said bull. And the result of this is a creature called the Minotaur, who is half human, half bull. Obviously, not a very calm energy from the half bull, half human. So Minos panics and gets this very smart man called Daedalus to basically build a maze in order to trap this bull so that he cannot escape and kill people on his island. Then part of the wider myth is, of course, Daedalus and his son Icarus, who, when they built this labyrinth, Minos is like, you know too much about this and you could give this information to somebody else so that the bull could escape, so I'm gonna now imprison you in a tower. So they build up a collection of feathers and wax from basically when they've been bought candles and when any birds have passed by the tower, so that they can build their own wings and try and escape. And then, of course, famously, Icarus flies too close to the sun and the wax melts and no more. It is then Minos' daughter, Ariadne, helps Theseus kill the bull because there was some sort of agreement between Minos and a neighbouring Greek island where they had to send children from this island basically on a yearly basis to be fed to the Minotaur to keep him satiated, yes. And Theseus, who's the prince, is like, oh, not really happy with this deal, so he disguises himself, gets into the labyrinth and kills the Minotaur, and Ariadne flees with him as she falls in love with him. Can do a whole other video on this. I feel like that's enough to understand the character of Minos. Okay, so the next bit, I can't remember if in the like closed captions it tells you who this character is, but I'm pretty sure Billie Piper is playing Cassandra, who, again, really from Greek mythology. We meet her in stories like the Iliad. And basically what happens with her is that she was a priestess and the god Apollo takes a liking to her. And the myth can vary a little bit. Basically, the conclusion is that she doesn't love him, does not want to get with him. Either she's trying to use him or not, because he offers her this power of prophecy in exchange for it. And when he finds out that he doesn't want her, she is then cursed with this power where she can see everything, but no one will ever believe her. And how this kind of comes about in things like the Iliad is, like, as it references in the series, she knows that there are Greek soldiers in the Trojan horse that are trying to get into Troy to destroy them all, and no one believes her. She is also eventually kidnapped by Agamemnon, the king, as like a victory kind of booty, as you were told when you were doing it at like GCSE and A level. And she prophesizes his death because he's going to obviously be killed by his wife Clytemnestra in very much a jealous rage. And again, no one believes her. And that's what you get from the craziness of Billie Piper's character, where she prophesizes the death of Eurydice, which is accurate, and no one believes her. So I thought that was quite a cool little reference. I will be interested to see what happens with her character more and more. Then we finally meet Hera, who is described as Queen of the Gods, the wife of Zeus and his sister. And unfortunately, yes, this is very accurate. She is also one of the children of Kronos that is regurgitated when Zeus rescues them all. And yeah, she is married to Zeus and fulfills the role of queen. As a goddess, she is generally associated with the idea of like marriage and fertility and motherhood, which makes sense as a queen. She is just as petty as we see in the show, so it'll be interesting to see if we get any more of that. Okay, so the Meander and its role in the symbolism of stability. The Meander was a real river in ancient Anatolia. It wasn't obviously some circular thing. It wasn't connected to any prophecy, as I said, but I get why they've done it. It's like a good visual reminder for us to return to throughout the show. But no, I'm sorry, there isn't really anything to explain that one. Then we meet Dionysus, arguably my favourite character, and probably like favourite... there is one of my favourite Greek gods. He's a good vibe. I love him. But amazing character, amazing actor, just to say. And yes, he is exactly the way they depict him. He is the god of like drunken revelry, which is fantastic. We first meet him in a club, vibing out to some Mamma Mia, which is great considering we think about the film Mamma Mia is based in Greece. So I like that little connection. And yes, he was hated by Hera because he is the offspring of Zeus by a different woman, a mortal woman named Semele. And Hera obviously not happy with the infidelity and kind of takes this out on Semele and Dionysus. So their relationship is constantly one of conflict. However, she did not turn Semele into a bee. That's actually the story of another Greek nymph who, it varies why she was turned into a bee, but we know it was some form of punishment. She was actually one of the nurses looking after a young baby Zeus when he was in hiding. Some say that maybe she gave his location away, so she was turned into a bee. So unfortunately not Dionysus' mum. I don't know why we changed it. Dionysus' mum was tricked by Hera. Basically, Hera disguises as an old woman, like a nurse, to befriend Semele, and plants seeds of doubt in her mind to be like, are you sure you really know about Zeus and what he is? Like, are you sure he's a god or not? Like, you need to ask him to reveal his true form. Knowing that a mortal cannot see the true form of a god, it will kill you. But it works. She becomes so full of doubt and eventually is like, please, can you show me? And she burns to death, and that is the end of Semele. Hera then also continues to still basically abuse Dionysus in a variety of ways, because she's also unhappy with the fact that he is in this Olympian court and he is only half god. So first of all, even as a baby, she tries to destroy him. She sends one of the Titans down to kill him. And Zeus finds out about this plan and intervenes. And in order to protect Dionysus, he sews him into his thigh. He is then reborn from the thigh, so he's like a twice born god. Very weird. Does she stop there? No. Even in adult life, she continues to go after him. So, as I said, Dionysus is the god of wine, of the vine and grapes, and he basically travels around Greece to try and influence the humans, which I guess he kind of does start doing in the show. We get this idea of him wanting to be more involved with the humans, so that's pretty good, that's quite accurate. But she, again, gets jealous of him and just infiltrates his mind, like sends him into madness. Which results in the death of many mortals. So yeah, she is a petty person who did hate Dionysus, can confirm. So to celebrate this special day in this episode of the series, they do a human sacrifice. This is not a thing. There weren't human sacrifices or very, very rare accounts. We also see them sacrifice a pig. This is way more accurate. It was much more likely to be these kinds of farm animals that they would give as offerings to the gods to basically earn their favour and keep them happy. They would also erect monuments, as we see, although hopefully not ones that have been defiled, like the TV show, because that would definitely make the gods angry. So then when Orpheus goes to perform his concert and Eurydice isn't sure whether she wants to be with him and so on, we see that her mum is a priestess for Hera. We don't really know anything about the parentage of Eurydice, so I can't say that it's inaccurate, but we can say that the priestesses of the goddess Hera did not have to cut out their tongues, and there wasn't this kind of ritual confession kind of idea that we get. They really just performed the normal functions of other ancient Greek priestesses, which was like maintaining the temple, performing offerings, and so on. Then when she does die and we see the funeral, we see that Orpheus, or eventually the priest, has to put a coin in her mouth. And this is an accurate practice in ancient Greek religion. And this is the idea that when you die, you have to have a passage on this ferry in order to reach the underworld, and you have to pay the man who is driving said ferry, who is called Charon. So, very good depiction. Finally, Dionysus helps Orpheus. Unfortunately, there is no like mythological account where we see them directly connected. So, but it's fine. We love the characters nonetheless. And honestly, the show itself is fantastic. And I think the amount, I can't even get into the detail of all the amount of tiny references because there's so many. Like, if you want a separate video on that, just comment below and I'd be more than happy to. But I can't fit it all in this one video. So that is the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to get this, I can't speak. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and to subscribe if you want more content like this. I will be going through every episode of the series, so don't miss out. Have a lovely week. Bye.